Hey guys, Mario Peshev here from drawbacks, and this is Mara, our community manager. So the topic I'd like to discuss today is, what are the negative consequences of job hopping, and what does it look like when a hiring manager or a future employer sees, that you've kind of hopped between three different jobs over the course of the past year. So first off, that kind of stuff is quite common, especially among entry level people, interns, and everything else. Like especially for internships, it's very common to see that a lot of people have switched between several different internship programs, primarily because internships often tend to last for about 3 months, give or take. So that's fine, right? That's something that's totally okay, totally acceptable, and so forth. But we are talking about real jobs here, right? You've actually signed a contract. You were supposed to work for that company for a few years, or at least kind of the industry average tends to be between a year and a half and 2 years and a half, depending on what kind of industry research do you read at. But anyway, like, you apply for an employer, or you see an application by someone who has worked for three different companies, again, full-time employments over the course of the past year, or on average about 4 months at a place, which, to be honest, often tends to be even lower, because you have time to prep your documents and apply for the new job, and not to mention onboarding and training and all that stuff. So again, sometimes, aside from internships, sometimes it's normal. There are good excuses for that, right? Your boss isn't not a kind person. Your manager used to be unqualified person. You were promised something that wasn't really delivered at the end, and so on and so on. Like, sometimes those kind of things happen, and they may happen once. It's kind of a statistical probability, something that may have actually felt at that point of time. But it's kind of looks weird if it happens kind of 3 times in a row, because from a hiring manager's perspective, or from a CEO's perspective, or employer's perspective, regardless, when you look at kind of that kind of CV, let's say someone refers you to someone else and say, you really need to hire this guy, and you see that CV, like a hiring manager and employer, and you say, oh, okay, I mean, it's you're vouching for them, and so on and so on. But you see those three kind of jobs over the past year, and you try to analyze what does that mean, and you say, okay, I'm going to try to think of it positively, but eventually you can't, right? You might say, okay, that person is probably someone who's not really a good culture fit, because he tried to adjust to three different companies that didn't really accept him. Let's hope it's not this. Okay, that person is probably just a job hopper that is always looking for the best possible offer. So if I hire her, then maybe she would keep looking for another job in over the next 2-3 months. Or that person may be someone who can't go through the trial phase and can be taught new things, or can be can't get acquainted with our processes and workflow and so on. Or that person is someone who has been kind of reported or fired or something else. Or you start kind of working different theories, and there aren't many positive ones. And like, even if you think about it, at some point of time you may say, okay, that's someone who is applying for every other job out there without even considering what the company is, or what the job is about. Or that maybe someone who's overselling themselves and they don't really possess that skill set. Or it may be someone who is too harsh on their managers and expects a lot from them without giving too much on their behalf. Or someone with poor job habits, or being late to work, or just not delivering work on time. Because again, let's just think of it in a very objective manner. A lot of people work a specific job for several years at a time, or at least about, on average, a couple of years, right? And then you see someone who has switched 3 different places over the past year. If you look at that specific person in a pile of different applications, it's very likely that this CV is going to be thrown at the bin, simply because it seems risky. Most of the possible alternatives for what would be the reason for that are negative. Most of the reasons why someone would go kind of switch between 3 different jobs means that this person isn't a good culture fit, is always looking for a higher salary, can't bond with the team, can't be taught, or even if we say that everyone else is wrong all the time, this means that this person isn't able to tell good from bad, or is very subjective to believe the lies of a hiring manager, or can't really understand what their management asks from them, and so on and so on. Again, sometimes there are good reasons. Could be some form of an internship, could be a company shrinking down, could be I don't know, could be a sick relative or something else, or could be a traveling abroad or something else. But it's very rare, to be honest, and it's very hard to convince someone that you have a good reason. And that's why many employers wouldn't give that sort of person a chance in the first place, because it looks too shady. The risk is too high. There isn't enough time to figure out what sort of person they are and what they're looking for, and so on and so on. So if you are looking for your next job, or essentially if you're looking for a good type of job and so on, make sure that your past experience doesn't include that many occurrences, especially in a sequential order of jobs that you have kind of spent time you've spent at work at different jobs for just a few months at a time, and or in this case switching 3 jobs over the course of a year. Make sure that you're smart enough and look for the right companies. Do your due diligence. I have another video on kind of researching a company before applying. Work hard. Make sure you go through onboarding, training, and so on. Work hard to become a good team player, and kind of adjust to the company and so forth. Research again that company up front in order to make sure that you know what you're getting involved with. Make sure that your role doesn't ask for too much from you, so that there's a high chance for you to essentially burn out or just not be able to deal with everything. And yeah, just try to be a great fit for that company. If it's not a great fit, don't apply. I know that for first-time hires or even second-time hires, it may be hard to find a job. But once you find one, just stick with it. At least spend some time. Try to give it a shot. Try to work hard. Try to prove yourself. Try to get, some positive experience. Try to, again, learn the office environment and office culture, and meet some people, satisfy some of your managers, get some good referrals and testimonials from them, because that's going to be important, and that's also going to increase your the duration of your essentially career, due to being persistent and smart about picking your job. But again, if you fall into that case of just switching between jobs every 3 or 4 months, don't be surprised if you don't get invited to interviews. It makes a lot of sense for various reasons, especially if you have 200 interviews, 200 CVs to go through, and most of them don't really fall in that criteria. It's just not worth it most of the time. And if it's worth it, and if you have a really solid reason, make sure you write a cover letter and explain what exactly led to those 3 occurrences. Be proactive and explain it very carefully. Don't blame your managers for that. Just explain the situation, explain if you had a very good reason to switch 3 jobs over the course of the past year. Good luck.